Yeah, look, I mean, we got a little bit of a late start today, but training camp is here, and Nate Taylor is back stateside and in St. Joseph, Missouri. So now, as I believe we are at the God's honest beginning of football season, the 2024 Chiefs season kicked off today with rookies and quarterbacks reporting in St. Joe. And I'm just so excited that we're all here to talk about it together. Seth, how excited are you for training camp? Seth?
Where is he? Where is he?
How has the lab had more shows with 3 hosts this month than we have? One of their hosts quit.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
I've seen that we're starting the camp on the pup list like Charles Omenihu. I've seen false starts. I have seen a lot of things in a excellent chat showing as we were getting set around here today. But Nate, it's good to see you. It's been a little while. I know you had what looked like an incredible trip from what you shared on socials, but given the nature of the day, we have not talked about it at all in our pre-show time, because our pre-show time together was very brief. So it's good to see you. What is it like to go from Wimbledon to St. Joe?
Excellent question. This is not Wimbledon, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I'm so thrilled that I was able to go. And that many people solved the puzzle the last time I was on the show when my lovely wife Holly told me not to tell you all about my whereabouts so that you guys could obviously know my whereabouts. Yeah, it's good. There is no easing into this. This is the first day I've technically worked in like over 2 weeks, which is a real blessing and a difficult day, guys.
Yes, it is.
It's warm, but it's not nearly as hot as it was in Rome. So I am conditioned for training camp. That was something I got to share with a number of our good friends and colleagues, that St. Joe can't be as hot as Rome was a little over a week ago when it was in like the 100s. And you just walk everywhere. It's wonderful. You know, our Europe trip went very smooth. I'm happy to be back home. You know, I look so forward to seeing everyone again and to getting back to, like you said, this is officially football season. I saw Patrick Mahomes roll up in his truck and know that his and my summer are gone. Toast. That's over. It's
both
over
with the Wimbledon, both in St. Joe right now.
Yep. You know, it was very cool to know that my Wimbledon experience and Patrick Mahomes' Wimbledon experience were totally different. I mean, completely different. Now, would I trade my experience at all? No, I wouldn't. But I did tell some people that Patrick, as he always does, tends to find the right time for things, and him watching literally the best men's match probably of the tournament, because after that, Carlos Alcaraz just went on and just destroyed everybody in his wake to be in the men's singles championship. But it really was cool to know that, you know, we sort of crossed paths unintentionally. It just sort of happened. Neither one of us had talked about it beforehand. But I saw Carlos Alcaraz beat a guy I never heard of in the second round, and then Patrick Mahomes watched Carlos Alcaraz beat Francis Tiafoe in a pretty entertaining 5-set match. So
I've never heard of.
Darn it! Come on, Josh.
I knew. Hey, I know the Alcatraz guy. I've heard of him.
Yeah. So, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is just like Nate. Thank you, Todd.
I also really like.
No one has ever said that, and no one should.
D-Mac says not nearly as hot, but obviously just as nice in St. Joe as it was in Rome.
Oh, extremely. I mean, the gorgeous view I have in front of me is so similar to the Roman ruins just beyond the Colosseum. It's exactly the same.
Both instances, you're talking about the gladiators of their time. You're talking about getting your feet back in the sand to be ready to go to battle and maybe to punch Jack Cochran or something.
It's amazing that in the Gladiator, which by the way I got to show. Thank you, Todd. It was nice to show Holly, my wife, who had never seen the Gladiator before. Here's the Coliseum in its entirety that we still have, and then here's one of the most gory movies of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And
what order did she watch that? Did she watch it after you went to the Coliseum, or did she do it as like required viewing?
No, we did it after the Coliseum. And she was like, A, the movie's long, and B, man, yes, we went on a tour, ma'am, and they told us all these things occurred. And it's not like, obviously it's not historically accurate, but like, yeah, blood sport. Yeah.
Are you excited? I haven't talked to anybody about this yet, and I'm really torn. I also haven't seen the entire trailer, kind of on purpose. Are you excited for Gladiator 2? We didn't need that.
No, at all. No.
No one. I didn't expect that to ever happen.
No, but I mean, I know who the leading man is, and I'm entertained. I'm interested.
That's also exactly where I am at. I was like, well, they're at least doing something kind of spicy here. It seems like, I don't know.
Right. I mean, we could get The Last of Us 2, or we could get Gladiator 2. Okay.
I don't even think I knew Pedro Pascal was in it. So Denzel and Pedro Pascal. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Great question for you about Holly and her experience at the Coliseum from Nate Dogg. Was she entertained?
Yes. Yeah, she was entertained. She was like, by the way, she both acknowledges that like Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, one of our best actors who plays a crazy person. Just one of the best we have.
Incredible range at playing a crazy person. Not just one flavor of crazy person. My favorite version is him playing a very, very sad crazy person in Her. Yes. It's a beautifully heartbreaking crazy. There's a lot of wacky characters he can find his way into.
So on one end, Holly's watching The Gladiator on a flight. And on the other end, Holly is crying on a flight watching the bridges of Madison County.
Wow.
So we went in a lot of different a lot of different genres back, from old films back in the day. But yeah, I saw somebody in the comments. I can't let me look here real quick. This is Nate Dogg is doing me a service and a disservice all in one. So chef's kiss to him. Nate Dogg asks, cafeteria, which is right behind me, like the same cafeteria that your Kansas City Chiefs will get fed during the next month. Cafeteria is probably the same as Italian food. What a come down. What a disappointment. Guys, I cannot stress enough how good authentic Italian food in Italy is. No notes. Keep it going. When Seth talked about how much gelato he had, I was like, that seems a bit. Nope, he was right. He was totally right. So, I'm sure that there'll be some Italian dishes that I'll have back here over the next month.
Italian inspired.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure
you'll get oregano again.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to eat it and enjoy it alongside Creed Humphrey. Yeah, sure. Of course that's going to happen. But it is funny to me that it's like, yeah, we're all kind of eating the same food. I'm in the same general place as to where the team will have its meetings and some of its, family get-togethers, as Patrick Mahomes sort of called it today. He was just like, yeah, we all have to love each other, or we'd hate each other if we stayed this long together as teammates. So you better like who your teammates are. But no, it's like I said, it's great to be back, to have somewhat of real football news today. I know you and Seth were going through it. I was listening to the podcast on the way back, and then just
June 9th and June 11th, baby. Welcome to July 16th.
July 11th.
July 9th and July 11th.
Last
two shows of the off season.
Thank you, boys, for
We
doing.
still haven't gotten a Juwan Taylor film review out of that bum.
Well, yeah.
We've been teasing that for 3 shows now. On Thursday, maybe we'll
Right. Yeah,
we'll
he'll get that to us, as Andy Reid will say, many a times between now and God knows when or how long the season goes. It usually goes pretty long, kids.
Yeah, no kidding. And Nate, to that segue of Andy Reid getting it to you, it was a little bit surprising to me that Andy Reid volunteered a little bit of injury information today that I didn't necessarily think we were going to get all of today because the vets aren't even here yet.
Right.
But as Cody notes in the comments, Josh is easing us in, unlike how Andy will not be easing Worthy in, and he should be ready to take everything it takes here. I'm trying to not only ease myself and the audience in, I gotta ease Nate in here. He hasn't been. He just took 2 weeks off of these daily reps. I mean, right now we gotta hear about the food. We gotta hear about Wimbledon. We gotta hear about the trip a little bit to get up to speed. So whenever I say, Nate, tell me what's going on with Joe Tooney, we don't want Nate's hamstring to pop. We don't want a vocal cord to blow. So it's all about managing that.
Yes.
This might be the easiest bit for now. We can kind of pick. There were some interesting presser stories. We heard from Reid and Mahomes today.
Yep.
But the injury news is the newsiest bit to this point. Jalen Watson, Derek Nottie, Charles Omenihu, and Joe Tooney will all, quote, probably, unquote, start on the physically unable to perform list at the beginning of training camp. Omenihu is not a surprise. Tooney is not super surprising, but a little disappointing, I guess, because of it. Andy keeps talking about how close he is, and he said that in minicamp also.
Yep.
Derek Nottie is odd, not because we have any confusion about what happened to him, but they signed him early in free agency, and he seems like he's not ready to go right. He reported today.
Correct.
As did Leo Chanel reported today, but he wasn't mentioned here in the pup list group by Andy.
Right. And he was dealing with some back soreness in his lower back is my memory.
Yes.
Yes.
And Jalen Watson on this list, yes. Is that brand new? I didn't remember nothing serious enough that I was expecting him to be mentioned.
Yeah, he participated in the mandatory minicamp per my notes in my eyes. But yes, he is here today. I did see him. He seemed to be in a decent mood. But it was one of those things that we didn't get a chance to really follow up with Andy Reid because, it's been a month since we've talked to him. So there's a lot of different things to sort of try to get in the about 10 to 15 minutes, whatever it was that we had of Andy Reid. But that was one of those small follow-ups that we didn't get as to what is specifically Jalen Watson's injury or why he might be a possible pup candidate. So hopefully, we'll get a better answer to that, between now and I guess the next time Andy is scheduled to talk, which I believe is either Thursday, Friday, somewhere in there, before obviously the veterans report.
I forgot about this. Shout out as ever, especially since Seth isn't here. Shout out to Jordan Foote. Incredible Chiefs content for you at chiefssi.com.
Yes, sir.
Jalen Watson did tweet about getting surgery in March because of his torn labrum in week 2. But to your point, if he was participating in the other stuff,
right,
did that get re-aggravated, or did he just do a little bit when he didn't have to be on any list the first run through? So something to keep an eye on there. Anything else out of the injuries there before we get to kind of some of the presser stories and ease everybody back into training camp mode?
No, I think the only other news is we anticipate that Xavier Worthy is going to run reps tomorrow. He's going to run routes for Patrick Mahomes, because why else would I get in my truck and drive away from my family early when one of the best things I did see was Chris Jones being like, man, it sucks to be a quarterback, isn't it, Pat? And Pat being like, no, why don't you come on down?
Yeah, come on, it's fun. Why don't you come?
No, and X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Chris Jones said, look, man, what's on my schedule is Friday, and I got to trust Coach in his process, just like you have to trust him in packing your stuff on Monday night, not Thursday night. So with Xavier Worthy being fully healthy, with Jared Wiley obviously being healthy, we're going to get some semi-interesting, semi-important repetitions tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, course ahead of the big practice Sunday morning, the first official full team practice, the public, I believe, for the 2024 season.
The other thing I should mention is that BJ Thompson will start on the NFI, the non-football injury list. Andy Reid sounded very positive about the latest with BJ Thompson throughout that presser today. So it sounds like things are good, but I think we should all unanimously be cool with BJ Thompson doing whatever the doctors tell him to do in whatever happens next for him. So we'll get an update there when more updates become available. Let's go ahead and talk about Xavier Worthy now, since we're here, and we talked about if we did or didn't care about him being out there for mini camps and OTAs and all of that. And what we have now is a fun little terminology battle between Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes that Andy got asked about in the follow-up too. But Tucker and I were texting earlier as the presser was later than the Chiefs had announced it was going to be, and all those dominoes led to us starting a little later today.
Correct.
A lot later. It's fine.
Sorry, guys.
So, it's St. Joe. I've said for years, time moves differently in St. Joe. It's like the water planet in the Matthew McConaughey space movie, in Interstellar. And when you're there, time passes different. Time dilation just happens. So stick with us as we all survive training camp together. But
for the next month,
it is. I put all the days on my calendar finally, and I did it. Like, it says 30 out of from today through the last official practice and military appreciation day. That's the last practice. 31. Woo. With that in mind, Mahomes says, "Hey, we're gonna get Worthy out here, and there's no easing him in." I think because you asked Mahomes about Worthy, right?
Yes.
Please take that interaction, then I'll say what Andy said.
Ladies and gentlemen, I largely drove from Overland Park to St. Joseph, Missouri today to ask one question. Sir, you and Xavier Worthy, how is it going to go? Because Pat is experienced enough now in year 8 to know what it was like to work with Mecole Hardman as a rookie. Obviously, last year, things sort of changed on the fly because of Kadarius Toney's knee injury. All of a sudden, Rashee Rice got thrusted into a lot of reps with Patrick Mahomes as a rookie receiver. Now he gets the chance to do it in a little bit of a different context, but knowing that Xavier Worthy is going to be with the ones throughout much of training camp. And really, his training camp kind of comes down to his work with Xavier Worthy. So yes, I drove several miles to ask Patrick Mahomes, how are you going to ease Xavier Worthy and navigate him through training camp? Because I thought the Chiefs did an excellent job last year with Rashee Rice when they didn't really anticipate Rashee Rice having as much of a workload as he was sort of required to have because of the injury to Kadarius Toney. And Patrick turned to me, looked me in my eye, through his Oakley sunglasses, of course, and said, "No easing." And I said, "We have it, kids. On day one. Day one, we did it. We did it on day one. Your boy got the money." Quote. Now, so I knew the assignment. Patrick knew the assignment. We did not get to talk to Xavier Worthy today because the Chiefs said, "Look, all they're doing is unloading things from one transportation to a miserable dorm that no grown man should ever be in. So let's let them talk after their first professional practices in a training camp context." And so, look, I did my job today, is all I'm saying. And then it was fascinating to know that Patrick went into, I think, a pretty good detail as to, look, man, he sat out much of the offseason program for precautionary reasons. But it's time to get better. And, Patrick is sort of setting the tempo, sort of the theme of training camp. And it's really about how much can the offense get going between now and the end of training camp. And of course, now and September 5th, when they play the Baltimore Ravens. So, much of the Chiefs defense is intact. We've talked about that a lot during the offseason. So the new the new sort of wrinkle, the more significant newcomers are on offense, and much of that deals with Xavier Worthy. So if Patrick Mahomes says there's no easing into, I'm sure Andy Reid is not going to lie to us, right? Right?
Sometimes the truth doesn't always make its way all the way out in press conferences. This is a fact of the matter we've had to deal with. So Mahomes says, I mean, there's no easing in response. I'm glad you used that word, Nate. It was genius journalistic practice by you, because Mahomes was essentially quoting that word back to you. So
yes.
easing is in quotes on the rundown, because that was Nate's word and Mahomes took it. It was perfect. It was even more perfect. 10 minutes later, you're right, because you're right. He did. It was you got the quote off the top and really good stuff the rest of the way about, Rashee Rice throwing up and pushing to your limit throughout all of that.
Correct.
Then Andy Reid comes up a little bit later. They went in that order today because, training camp, rules don't matter. Everything's made up. Rules don't matter. And sorry, really bad stuff from KL in the comments. Teams lie to us, the fans. I'm so sorry that I was the one. Well, but you know what? Ask Santa for Christmas this year for teams to tell the truth, and maybe that'll happen.
Right.
But then Reid, 10 minutes later, is asked about Worthy and says, we're going to ease him in and blah, 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 bunch of other things.
And I did
Andy?
And I did my best to keep my face from not changing.
Like, what? So cartoon eyes shot out of Nate's face. You were there and you drove to St. Joe. I shouldn't go first on what I think happened there, but I do have a view of what I think is most likely happening there. I think it's a semantic game a little bit. Okay,
of course.
So, Mahomes says there's no easing, and Reid has talked about this some, and I think Spags has talked about it even more, just because Spags will say more of anything. Where Spags says, hey, with the new guys and the rookies and everything, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I think Andy said the same, but we are going to essentially overwhelm you with all of your responsibilities. Here's the playbook. Here are all of your jobs.
Yes.
And then we're going to pull this back and pull this back and pull this back and get a feel for what you can handle and then kind of figure out how to build you up that way.
Correct.
Worthy was there for camp. He wasn't absent, but he wasn't on the field. He was there through camp. You mentioned that he was standing next to Matt Nagy through stretches of mini camp and all of that. But Mahomes rightly is saying, hey, you don't get to come in at half speed here because we're all engaging at 100%. The context of the question to Reid was more physical, I think, in the connotations of getting Worthy up to speed. And Andy says, we're going to ease him in. That's what it felt like to me.
Sure.
And I'm happy you were there. But it felt to me like Andy's saying, yeah, we're not gonna give him, and I guess Andy could just be straight line, which is again something you put on the table. But to me it was, like we're gonna get him up to speed, but he's not gonna run 45 go routes tomorrow. Maybe he will.
Maybe that'll be different tomorrow if he pukes.
I am putting the most stock in what Mahomes said regardless. I think at bare minimum for me, this isn't some terrible miscommunication between Reid and Mahomes about what the plan is for Xavier Worthy. It's nothing that serious or that nefarious.
Correct.
And he doesn't want Worthy to go out there and pull a hammy and re-aggravate his hamstring day one of the rookies being there. Kadarius Toney will handle that on Thursday. But instead, what? Who said that? Tucker, was that you? That was inappropriate and frankly not funny.
Hold on. Kadarius Toney's first practice is Sunday. I have it circled on my calendar. And also, we're gonna ease him in, which means, son, you the first round pick. There are no other receivers here that are of starting quality.
And that's a good point.
Run another rep.
That's
Run
totally
another
fair.
one. And another one, and another one, and another one. And I hope Rashee Rice told you this. Another one. Run another rep. Run another route. Run another one. We're not running the ball today, son. Run another route. I hope Xavier Worthy stretches. I hope he has a proper breakfast. I hope he is hydrated. Because, son, run another rep.
It's a good point. I was giving Andy Reid too much good faith in that situation because I was
I
so
believe
befuddled about the lying about
I
the
believe, I believe he lied to us today.
Yeah, that's
That is
fair.
my belief.
I think Mahomes told the truth. And
Truth,
what Reid
yes.
said didn't really matter, is I think the bones of my take. But you're right. I think I
Yeah.
worked way too hard in retrospect to try to come up with a way that Andy Reid could have been telling the truth.
So I love that D-back here says, quote, "Ice up, son," because
It's gonna be an ice up. It's gonna be an ice up Wednesday.
ice the
for
hell
sure.
up, son, because it reminds me of, like, honestly, it kind of reminds me of high school where the coaches were not as good as Andy Reid, yet wanted you to puke. And so if I went through that, and Andy Reid's more of a maniac than ever during training camp, it was funny. I got to talk to Michelle Steele, who I love and have so much, respect for, because ESPN's like, we gotta be here for the start of camp. And I'm like, Michelle, you could be in Chicago,
Yeah.
or you could be with the most maniac of a man for an entire month during training camp. When the CBA rules are there because Andy Reid's here. That's why the
God,
CBA
that's
is
a
the
good
way
point.
it is. I remember a couple players last year telling me, no, the CBA is made a certain way because Andy Reid and, like, Pete Carroll still exist.
That's such a good point. Like, they say that every law exists for some reason. Like, if you,
Yes.
it's such a really specific, weird laws. It's like, what do you listen? I'm not saying you should be able to, but why can you specifically not publicly urinate in the middle of a 4-way stop at 2:30 on a Sunday? Like, why is that specifically illegal? And so, like, the CBA says if you have more than 3 players barf on the first day of training camp, you lose a practice. And that's an Andy Reid rule.
Yeah, you got coach. They need more time to get water. I'm sorry, what? I gotta get another play in, another rep. You see what I'm saying?
You need to have a porta potty at field level.
What?
Talking about? You're not sweating enough that there's not a drop of urine in your body. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun tomorrow. I will wake up and drive again from Overland Park to St. Joseph to see if Xavier Worthy pukes or not. That's the entire reason I'll get up in the morning. Does this man puke? Because for context purposes, Rashee Rice last year, God bless his heart. Rashee Rice walked down the hill to the practice fields so happy, just such a rookie, just saying, "Oh, I'm in a legitimate jersey. Is training camp." He said, "First day, baby." I think I quoted him in a story later on in his rookie season, saying, "First day, baby." So happy. Within an hour, he was puking on the field.
I've been really happy and then puking less than an hour later. That's happened to me a couple of times.
Right. And then a year before that, and I remember specifically asking Leo Chenal this, "Hey, what'd you think about Rashee puking?" And my man said, "We tried to tell him." He tried to tell him, because I did it last year. Yes, yeah. I saw Leo Chenal puke twice. Once in the red zone, the other time in the end zone. And Andy said, "Run it. Run the rep."
Famously out of shape, bad athletes, Leo Chenal and Rashee Rice.
Right.
Andy, I don't listen.
Andy's got a reputation to uphold. That's all. He's just got a reputation to uphold.
I have a way to add this. Now I'm gonna say, whatever is preceding the final year of Andy Reid's coaching career, which isn't this year, and I do not want Pro Football Talk to aggregate this podcast. But whenever Andy's about to hang it up, he needs to just let like 5 random people come out and just do the conditioning test or something.
Oh no.
Get like a good recently graduated college athlete who played played at some decent level. Get a former high school athlete, get a 40-year-old dad, get a 50, like whatever, just throw some people in there just to do the pros versus Joes thing. I don't think it'll happen because I don't think the Chiefs want to be responsible of a potential fallen member on the field. I don't think we can risk that. If Rashee Rice and Leo Chanel can't do it, who can?
So the best thing about 2 years ago, and I'm probably giving too much away, but I really do appreciate talking to Leo Chanel. Leo Chanel was the rookie who had to bring the snacks to camp. That was his job. Yeah. So on this day 2 years ago, there are photographic evidence, I believe, of Leo Chanel carrying all the chips, all the cookies, all the juice. and so the thought was, hey man, it might not be the time to just open up a couple packs of Doritos, okay? It might not be the case. But look, you're young, you can eat through anything, you're athletic, and then Andy Reid says, move the ball from the 5 to the 2 and run the next rep. Coach, coach, hold up. I'm trying to be the Will linebacker right now.
The end zone is lava, and by lava, I mean breakfast.
And hike.
I have two sort of halftime topics I kind of want to throw out there. One that's a little bit of a news story that I know you're aware of that many people listening may not be, and then one other one that I actually have to leave my seat for briefly. Can you just actually, Tucker, can we just take a break?
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Wow, I can't believe that worked. I thought for sure Nate was going to be there without me on the other side. I was shocked to sit back down and see the slate still going. Nate, can I show you something?
Sure.
I need to check one thing first.
Oh, okay.
We're good. I needed to make sure my address wasn't immediately visible.
Oh, okay. Got it. Get myself together here. Yes, Lord.
Folks, it's here. I finally did it. I have not owned a new video game console since the Wii. What I think was a present, I'm sure. I've been living the handheld gaming life very happily for a while. The Switch, incredible. Maybe counts as a console.
Good.
I mean, whatever.
It's portable.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah, right.
And the Steam Deck, incredible. And I've been playing a lot of PC games on the Steam Deck on my TV, docked that way, also immaculate. But do you know what game is in on the Switch or the Steam Deck or on PC for that matter? Some of us are trying to build a dynasty.
Yes.
And it's
Lord.
here. It's here now. I will just admit as well, while we're just leveling up here, not for College Football 25, but we had been looking for a while anyway. Prime Day going on right now. Not only did I end up with the PS5, I also have a new TV on the way. A little bigger, a little nicer. I've had this one for a long time. I got a wall mount for the base. We are really... This was an apartment TV and has made it through phase after phase of life. I'm a married man now, Nate.
That's
time
right.
to have a TV that attaches to the wall. I have time to have a TV with 4K. Also a TV, 65 inches. Also was $350 on Amazon.
Oh, a grown man orgasming over grown man things. For the non-visual audience, I just climaxed over Josh having a PX5 and a brand new crystal clear television
at a great deal,
at an affordable rate.
That's the part I'm proud of. Is how good of a deal I got. That's the part that I actually want to share.
That is husband level goals and statuses, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's a huge I'm just gonna hold the controller in my hand the rest of the show. I think just get used to the buttons again. Been a minute since I held the PlayStation controller.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, for the watchers and our beloved listeners,
Chad, don't clip that.
Josh is opening his PlayStation 5 in the much anticipated first time I can not have to enter their names into their jerseys on college football NCAA 2025. Yes, that's how old I am. Where it's like, hey man, that's Vince Young. That's not number 5. I'm sorry. I'm entering his name. So what the kids will tell you is obviously Sony knows what it's doing. It's forcing all of us to re-up based on the video game.
Yep.
And
you did it.
My child pushed me in this direction earlier because I've taught him well, and I've taught him that Spider-Man is the greatest comic book superhero. And Sony has decided to make multiple Spider-Man video games, one more incredible than the next, and one on a system that you have to buy. So it's okay. We've all been there. I think Kent Swanson also bought a PlayStation 5 in the event of college football, if my memory is correct. And so look,
I know, Craig. Sorry, Craig. We're all very open with things, so I hope.
Yeah, we're old.
Craig Stout in the game now, starting with this. I believe Kent is controllered up. We have dynasties to build. I was thinking about you and Hayden and the Spider-Man games because as I was trying to find hopefully a PS5 deal around Prime and everything. I didn't get a great deal. I got $10 off at Walmart. Cool, thank you Walmart. But there were a lot of Spider-Man bundles. So I was like, well, I'm definitely going to end up playing that because I've heard great things about it, and I know what a key game it is to the Taylor family. So like that, that's definitely going to happen at some point. But I think also this is a good thing from the chat saying like, should I let the chat choose who I play as or whatever? I'm definitely not going to start on Heisman difficulty. I am not.
God no.
Like that. But I'm really enticed by the idea of trying to do what Ted Lasso did and trying to revitalize that Wichita State football program. Just doing a full custom build from ground zero is very, very tempting.
Interesting.
I would have been a Youngstown State Penguins guy for sure, but they're FCS now. Tucker informed me.
Correct. I thought about a lot of MAC action, and if you don't think I can't recruit you to Ohio State University instead of the Ohio State University in a matter of 4 years, test me.
Watch me,
son. Now you could go to Northern Texas, or you could go to the University of Texas. But why would you want to do that when you can be a legend at the North Texas University or Ohio State Bearcat University, where we will topple Ohio State?
Maybe I should pick up Miami of Ohio. I think that idea of picking a no, not that one school is immediately clear. Like that is absolutely valid.
It does suck that, like, back in the day you could get like Florida A&M and just destroy people in a matter of years. And I feel like the game's a little bit more interesting now because obviously they're going to build it in a certain way. I was talking to Tucker, it used to be fun to take Duke from the bottom of the ACC to the top of the ACC. And now, A, that's kind of already happened. And B, you gotta really search and find them. I love Bowling Green. Yes, give me Ball State. Oh, so yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Unfortunately, there's this thing called training camp, and I am not a multi-millionaire quarterback.
Yeah, who brought a TV with him for this exact purpose? He revealed.
Yes, which bold move, sir. Bold move.
Yeah, should we talk? You said this is the first year he's brought a TV, and he's brought it basically for this team building activity. I'm sure is there. But
the tournaments are gonna be nuts in the first 2 weeks. Nuts.
I'm not saying this, but if Seth were here, Seth would be asking if Mahomes still love football. Like that's what Seth would be saying. Okay, putting it out there. I think it's a concern. Something to keep an eye on. Something to watch.
Right. Something to monitor.
I guess the other I'm gonna save the other little off-topic thing. We can get there if we end up with time, or if not, we'll talk about it later. Not urgent, but worth getting to eventually. But the other like presser thing today was you heard a little bit from Patrick Mahomes about Kingsley Suamataia and his progression. I don't know if the presser moved the needle at all for me, and honestly, as we've covered, you shouldn't let press conferences move your beliefs on very often. But I have felt that the vibe has been only increasing toward the direction of Kingsley starting left tackle in week 1. That I'm like, I have been leaning that way pretty much since they drafted him, because they'd rather have the slightly younger guy who was a slightly higher draft pick who has an extra year on his contract right now.
Right.
You would like the guy with those factors to win the job. Without having seen a snap of him with pads on yet, I'm feeling like 70% confident that's what's going to happen. Is that number way too high? And what did you think about how Mahomes talked about him today?
Mahomes took it as far as he could without saying he's going to probably take first team reps.
Yeah.
Or that he'll get
that's what it felt like.
Or that he'll get the first crack. He took it as far as he could, with understanding that yes, now the pads come on. But that basically Mahomes said he's done everything the team has asked of Kingsley since they drafted him, which is obviously a good sign. I love your point that, like, you know, take from it what you will. But I did write today in The Athletic, that'll be out either later today or tomorrow. Again, wow, man, writing is hard. Especially when you haven't done it in like 2.5 weeks. But I wrote that the expectation is that Kingsley Suamataia and Xavier Worthy will take a majority of first team reps in training camp. That is the expectation right now. We'll obviously see if things change. But Patrick not being afraid to really talk about the competition, but talk about it in a way that clearly sort of signals that Kingsley Suamataia is the guy to have perhaps the best chance to win the job. And I've said this before, and I want to know how much Andy Heck and Andy Reid reveal this in camp, or if they'll wait till after all the public practices are closed or finished, I should say, if they're going to show, you know, Wanye Morris, the second-year tackle, as the swing tackle, that he'll get reps at both left and right tackle in the event of an injury to either player. Jawan Taylor at right tackle, and again, as of now, you can use pencil, I guess, to put Kingsley Suamataia on the first line of the depth chart at left tackle. But Andy Reid is still doing the coach thing, but the player kind of knows.
Yeah.
And if he gets through this the way the player anticipates, then the player knows that the rookie will get his chance, his opportunity on September 5th against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, that's an excellent way of putting it, where it felt, and Mahomes is very, very good at coach speak and all of that now. He's obviously a veteran at it, and it's not like he gave away the game or anything. But
right.
it felt like, for whatever reason, I don't have the exact quote right now in front of me, but it felt like he was acknowledging that's plan A. That if Kingsley has a good training camp, there's not literally, I suppose, but there's almost nothing Wanye Morris could do about it, because that is and also I think it may have been, again, maybe it's just been a month since we've heard an honest press conference or whatever, but or 4 months since we've heard a post game press conference,
right?
But 5, but when he's talked about, you know, like doing all the right things and building on everything and being there mentally for it all, that matters, even if it is Mahomes being effusive in his praise. If he said, yeah, you know, he's got long arms and he wants to get better, it's like, well, I was like, okay. So what you're saying is you're having a hard time coming up with other traits. It's little stuff, but with where we're at today, that's kind of what it felt like to me.
Yeah, and the last thing too is him describing the difference, or him acknowledging the difference, I should say, between when I was a rookie, being Patrick Mahomes, I never saw first team reps.
Yeah.
Because that was the plan. And so I didn't see first team reps until obviously much later in the season. Everybody knows, he played the season finale, regular season finale against the Denver Broncos. And that was his first real week preparing as the starter. Patrick says they have put him with the one from day one. And so that's the plan.
Right.
And so I just think, again, everything Patrick does is obviously interesting, noteworthy, but I do get the sense that him saying, and this is a direct quote, he's coming straight in from combine training and thrown in with the ones, and he's competing and he's not making the same mistake twice. Guys, that's as substantive of a quote as we can get on July 15th or July 16th with no practices whatsoever being had. But that's his recall from the offseason program and him realizing this is the plan, and so far the plan is working. So all that's next is, does the plan continue to work between now and September 5th?
We may end up getting, we will certainly have more to talk about here once you've actually seen practices on Thursday. But I think for me, it's pretty clear that with once Kingsley can actually block NFL like starters, there's no shade to anyone who would be there for rookie minicamp now. But the defensive line and offensive line are exactly the same, except for 2 undrafted free agent defensive tackles. So I don't know when Kingsley's probably not going to get a lot of quality reps the next couple of days. Is my only point there.
Right.
Through the next 3, I don't think there's going to be a defensive end there unless they end up bringing someone in.
Truman Jones. I think I saw Truman Jones today.
He could be eligible since he was not on the active roster last year. Fantastic.
Yes.
Big Truman. And I guess, Felix played. So, so great. Truman Jones versus Kingsley. You know what, Nate? If you tweet out a video of that battle, I will watch it with a huge smile on my face.
I'm not sure I want to take my phone out for that, to be honest.
Fair enough. But sure. Day one of camp activity is different.
Yes.
But I think of where the Chiefs stand now, and maybe the matchups just kind of work because you do have a couple of rookie defensive backs who are drafted and a couple of rookie pass catchers who are drafted. But I think Worthy and just making sure he looks like Xavier Worthy and completes practice tomorrow, that feels like bullet number 1 for me, right? I mean,
yes,
that's priority number 1. Jared Wiley is my second man on the list because I know there's stuff we haven't seen because it hasn't happened in front of fans yet. I know
what my eyes have seen, though.
Woo! I know what your eyes have seen. I know some of what your eyes have seen. And I know that this show and that you, me, and Seth as people, we have a Jody Fortson-sized hole in our heart. And I think it's about to get filled by a 6'6" majestic white horse on a 6'6" majestic horned frog on a sandy white beach.
Yes. Yeah, we got it. We it might, if he does, he being Jared Wiley, if Jared Wiley does in the first week what I believe he's potentially capable of doing, in front of other human beings who can watch these practices, he might have to earn a nickname before the pads even come on. I mean, that's how much of intrigue he's already given, and the skill set is. Look, man, I know it's pajama practices, as Steve Spagnuolo tells us. I know we are not in pads.
Some of us still look more athletic in pajamas than others.
Very true. Very true. And I'm just eager to see how fans take to him, understanding that everybody's excited for Xavier Worthy for obvious reasons. But we didn't see Xavier Worthy. I saw Jared Wiley. So if he can do some things in those first full team practices, then yeah, it might be time for him to take the honorary Jody Fortson hype, not necessarily hype train, because that's more for like, Nico Remigio, right? That's the junior. That's the junior Hemingway.
It can be
wing,
and we're here for the long haul.
Yeah. That's the junior Hemingway. wing over there. As I like to tell people, if you look behind those trees, way back over there, Junior Hemingway's jersey is never coming down.
No,
Okay,
never. Forever.
Never. Okay. I'm sure by next Thursday I'll have a whole list. So we can have some.
It's
fun
a long list. There's some good players there.
The Junior Hemingway, just that rafter. It's not really a rafter because obviously it's outside with some trees, but it's there. And Jody Fortson was there, kids. But he's
like
also
hanging under the scoreboard outdoors at the football field.
Right. But Jody Fortson sort of graduated from that to a whole nother level. And what I'm saying is Jared Wiley can even ascend that level because obviously he's a draft pick, which is a little different. But yeah, he could be, yes, Justin Ross, we salute you because you did that. You were on that tree. You put yourself on that tree and you made the 53-man roster, and nobody can take that from you because you had a Junior Hemingway memorial worthy training camp. So yeah, we'll just see what happens with Jared Wiley.
I will not be offended if the answer to this question is no. In fact, I'm assuming the answer to this question will be no. Did you by any chance in your return to the States peruse Tucker Franklin and I on Monday's KCSN update on this very podcast channel?
I did not.
Like you didn't. That's okay. That's okay.
Oh no.
No, it's okay. Nate, I can't stress enough how much you are allowed to not hear every piece of content that me or Tucker produces. It's really okay. Not you, dear listener or watcher. You need to consume all of it. But Nate doesn't need all of it.
I was in Poland, to be fair.
Yeah, but that's super. Again, I can't stress enough how reasonable it is that you didn't hear that episode.
Right.
But Tucker and I recorded on Sunday, and we parted the curtains many times in that episode. It's all part. We're like 4 curtains deep right now. Like before the show, we're like, hey, we need to get something that goes up on Monday, and we can look ahead to camp. We've done a lot of big picture camp stuff. What else can we talk about? And we kicked it around for a little bit. We did like 35 honest minutes about the tight ends. And much of it is about Travis Kelce. And we've kind of covered like how weird the narrative around him has kind of gotten. Because some people like Seth say he doesn't love football anymore, and other people are like he's falling off. And I don't believe either of those things. At least not in those terms.
Until we see it, we can't acknowledge it. Right. So
that's where I'm. Yeah, you can project things, but it will be projection.
Right.
And Noah Gray's in an interesting spot because he has played according to Pro Football Reference, he's played exactly 52% of the offensive snaps the last 2 years. Just a weird little statistical anomaly. Different amounts of snaps, but it's been 52% the last 2 years. And he's ended up averaging almost exactly 300 yards each year. It was like 305 last year and 298 or something the year before. I've looked at these numbers enough now that I am going off the top of my head at the moment.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So he has had a very, very, very similar workload and production over the last couple of years. Wiley is different. There's a different type of tight end. There's no Blake Bell.
Correct.
Noah Gray can do like quote unquote traditional tight end stuff. Even traditional might be a little bit of a heavy word because as Tucker and I were talking about, like he was like lining up in like fullback formations at Duke. So he's a unique kind of player that way as well. And it would make sense for the Chiefs to give Travis Kelce 75% of the offensive snaps this year. Something if in that.
Yeah, if he's healthy and there's nothing lingering.
Right, that would be that would be 75% would be a great result, really, kind of how last year went. So with all of that being said, we found it to be a very interesting group that we ended up talking about for quite a while. What do you think that the hierarchy is there? I mean, obviously, we know where Kelsey's at, and again, wear and tear me, but also let's try to keep this dude alive for the playoffs.
Right.
The ceiling for Wiley is ridiculous, and I like Noah Gray, but I don't know if he's going to see his role grow or change, or if he's going to play 52% of the snaps and kind of do a little bit of everything without being a super productive box score player.
Right.
Where are you at there? Because I've been thinking about the tight end group for a couple days now.
No, it's great, and I know that Nate Dogg asked, is Noah Gray in a contract year? And yes, he is.
Yes.
But I don't know if the Chiefs are going to like really, sort of transform his role I think his role might stay honestly intact because toward the middle parts of last year, you could say he was doing the Blake Bell things better than Blake Bell. And so he knows the offense. He's more of the I don't want to say Swiss Army knife, but he's more of the interchangeable tight end, even more so in ways than Travis Kelce, because Travis Kelce is the interchangeable receiver, even though he has tight end available to him if need be, based on formation and scheme and obviously who the opponent is. Jared Wiley will get, I think, some. I mean, again, this is also a projection, but I think Jared Wiley could be a very nice dark horse for the second half of the season. And he could be matchup dependent. And then you have Irv Smith Jr., who, as I like to remind people, was the first free agent who did join the Chiefs.
Tucker also reminded me of that multiple times. I'm sorry I didn't mention him just now because he's relevant.
Yeah. And so Irv Smith is sort of insurance. If you want 4 tight ends up on a certain game day, you can be that. Obviously now with the way the rules are, in the aftermath, during and the aftermath of the COVID restrictions, you can have obviously veterans on practice squad, on the active roster. So he still gives the Chiefs the ability to have 4 quality tight ends, but obviously Irv's issue has been his injury history. And so he obviously needs to get through training camp and get the system down just as much as Jared Wiley. But Jared Wiley probably has the most dynamic to him, not named Travis Kelce. And it's just how much can you tap into that and cultivate and get good production, maybe as much, if not more, than Noah Gray between now and obviously the end of the regular season. So Jared Wiley is going to have highlights that I think are going to remind people that, wait, he was tell me if I'm right, Josh, he was a 4th round pick? I think people are going to have those sort of thoughts like he was a 4th round pick. And it happens occasionally throughout the league where you get these highlights in training camp and you're like, that dude was in the 5th round, or this Puka Nacua guy is cooking people. And it happens. And so for the Chiefs, he's kind of their best candidate this year for, wait, that guy was taken in the 4th round, but I'm seeing him do things that are not 4th round related. And so he seems to be their best candidate for that this year.
The only other draft thing I'll mention is I just also don't really think about him being the Chiefs' 3rd pick, which is also true, because they ended up with Wiley and Jaden Hicks 2 picks apart in the 4th. So they didn't have a 3rd round pick because of the way they shuffled around for their trades. It was great board maneuvering, and now we get to probably talk. I'm gonna guess we're gonna talk about Xavier Worthy and Jared Wiley on Thursday, and I've been told that we'll talk about Jawan Taylor on Thursday.
Right.
And I am telling you, dear voyeurs, that we are going to do off-season lessons on Thursday.
Wow.
How about that?
Before the full team reports on Friday. This man's a genius. Wow.
I have drawn a line. I have called BJ Kissel. I have said if we do not get off-season lessons off the ground before the entire team is reported, I'm out. Said I'm done. Said I'm walking away. There will be lawyers, not just Seth. Multiple. Seth's on your side. I'm going to get better lawyers. I'm going to get Clint. I'm going to get our mutual friend Clint.
I can't wait for Clint to hear this and be like,
I know.
What'd I do?
No. Clint's with me. Clint's in good hands. I'm in good hands.
Yeah.
Clint might not be. I am, though.
Clint might also be like, have you seen the rates? I can show you.
Yeah, no, I'm not a his.
On the brochure, but like, we don't have to open it if you don't want to really find out.
I'll represent myself, but if we don't get to off-season lessons before the full team reports.
Now look, we gave a couple sprinkles here and there throughout the course of the off-season, but nothing obviously meaty, nothing
not my lessons. You've given some lessons. Seth has given some lessons.
That's true.
Have a here's what I think may have gotten lost. Oh, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for
Thursday. Here's what it reminds me of. Me and Holly sat down. We were in Italy. It was hot. Sometimes, and I understand this, Italians have 2 dinners. It's hilarious.
God, man, they gotta figure it out.
We eat dinner at 5. It's hot as hell. Then we have a better dinner at like 10:30. And so we sat down. It was at that 9:30, 10 o'clock. Nice little setting on a nice little rooftop. The sun had already gone down. And my guy looked at us and said, I'm an Italian, but I've lived in Chicago. And you know what? I can tell you two are good. I can tell you two are good. So you know what? For you, we got the fullest, biggest Mediterranean sea bass, salt crusted, full bodied fillet for you. Kids, when I tell you that this man did that and then paired it with a photo had to be required white wine that I know I'll never find again.
No. That's a meal you're only gonna have once in your life. Take me there. Take me there.
Amazing potatoes, little tomatoes, some green beans that you were like, we don't even need it, but like, even this is good.
Yeah, these are gonna be the best green beans you've ever had, and it's gonna be the worst thing on this plate.
Yep. And my man, and ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you, you must do this. When a man approaches you with such a opportunity, you have to take it, and you have to watch him crack all the salt off this fish, and then
you got to see it get unentombed.
Yes, and then the fillets just falling off, just the best. I mean, my man's going through it, finding the bones, taking them out, butter,
saying
olive oil.
Yeah. Train, choo. Open.
Let me tell you again: butter, olive oil, lemon. That's what off-season lessons will be on Thursday for you, dear voyeur, watcher, listener. Because Josh is that man that says, you know what? You've been sweating your ass off all day, ain't you? And you ain't from here. Grazie, prego. Let me take it from here.